Okay, you own. That's right, you own. We put you on notice podcast. And man, y'all know who it is. It's the boy, Mr. Watch Your What? Watch Your Tone, Big Web. And we got a special guest today, man. The owner and founder of RETV, featuring shows like Let's Eat, Millionaire Man's Cave, Business Talk Library, as well as Women's Champ. What's good, King? How you doing, Ty?
Hey, I'm good, and yourself? Pleasure to be on. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Before we jump into, RETV, I want you to just put us on notice about yourself first, King.
Man, okay. So I'm Tyren, better known as Ty. I'm the founder and owner of Relationship Entertainment Television, better known as RETV. We are a podcast, well, not podcast. We are actually a streaming television network that streams 24/7, 365. We try to promote all positive content out there so that way we actually control the narrative. We are independently owned. So we are basically doing it all from the top to the bottom. And we just love what we do. We've been in existence for about a year and some change now. And yeah, I'm just excited about it.
And that's what's up. It's definitely something, as far as positivity, pushing that positive, giving us that positive narrative is definitely something we need in the city of Milwaukee. And man, I applaud you because you definitely got some dope content out there. I was just checking out Women's Champs. And man, y'all had nothing but positive dialogue that whole time, putting us on notice about why do women or men sabotage good relationships.
Oh man.
Hey, can you tell me why do you think it's important to have these kind of conversations?
Man, so as I mentioned just a minute ago, because we are independently owned, we can control the narrative that actually is put out there. So right now, if you think about your major networks, your NBCs, your ABCs, your CBSs, even your BETs and your TV1s, so forth, they have people who are backing them that basically says, this is the type of content you can put out there, and this is what it is, so on and so forth. So we actually wanted to do something a little bit different. We wanted to bring the people, content in which we control the narrative, especially because there is so much negative content out there when it comes to us as African Americans. We wanted to put something positive out there when it comes to African Americans. So, it's super important that we control that narrative and that we let people see that there is a place to get positive entertainment where you can, not only be entertained, but inspired and educated at the same time.
That's dope.
What was your motivation behind creating the channel? Because a lot of people have went the podcast direction, and you decided to go a whole nother platform in Milwaukee, especially playing Black owned. So what motivated you to do that?
So it's crazy.
A whole network, not
even
a
whole network.
A whole network.
Yeah. So it's crazy because I'm actually not from Milwaukee. My wife is from Milwaukee, right? And so I'm actually from the DC area, but we actually live in North Carolina. But we wanted to create a platform for everybody everywhere. And it just so happens to be quite a bit of a lot of our audience is from Milwaukee because my wife is from Milwaukee because we got family from Milwaukee. So right. We in Milwaukee quite often.
Right.
But to answer your question, Webb, man, to be honest with you, we're marriage coaches by trade, me and my wife. And we were doing a podcast show for 4 years. But after a while, that kind of got a little, monotonous, and it was like, okay, let's, figure out something else we can do. People were recognizing us all over for everything that we were doing on our podcast, but we wanted to have a broader and a wider reach. And so we took a hiatus from doing the podcast for about a year and a half, met with some business coaches, and one day it literally hit me out the blue. I was like, okay, if I want to watch cartoons, where do I go? I go to the Cartoon Network.
Right,
if
right.
I want to watch sports, where do I go? ESPN. If I want to watch something about building something around my house, where do you go? HGTV. But where do you go when you want to actually get some entertainment or get some positive content about building relationships? Well, at the time, there was not a place. So we introduced Relationship Entertainment Television to the market. And the reason we took a whole different strategy from doing typical podcasts is because we wanted to do something different that actually gave visuals, intentional visuals around, shows. A lot of, people who do podcasts, some of them are visual based and some of them are just audio based. Right. We wanted to put some visuals around it, let people be creative with it, build a platform where people can bring their content and, push positive content out there to people in a lot of places. And it just so happened to be Milwaukee is in our top 5 of our market at the time. So, we're definitely pushing it.
Man, like I said, that sounds like a lot of the stuff that I, hope to do with P.Y.O.N Media, will put you on Notice podcast. And, for you to make that into a whole network, that's huge. And I applaud you on that for sure. You got a variety of different shows. Now you say, how did you get these individuals to come and be a part of RETV?
Man, it's the vision, to be completely honest with you. It was the vision that I wound up sharing with people. So when we wound up putting this together, we initially started with 3 shows, 2 of which we owned and created the content ourselves based off the podcast that we were doing initially at the time. And that was the Ty and Cody on Purpose show, and that was Millionaire Man Cave. But we wound up, sharing, putting it out there on social media, sharing the vision with some other people, some other folk. And we had another third party came in and said, we want to join in y'all. We want to bring content with you as well. Somebody out of North Carolina, and their show is called Getting to Know Marriage. From there, we can just continue to build. We continue to push. We continue to grind. And out of Milwaukee, we have Let's Eat with our chef Audie. Out of Milwaukee as well. Well, she recently just moved, but she still has a show. But out of Milwaukee originally as well is Women's Chant with LaToya. Heck of a show. Mm-hmm. We have, like you mentioned, we have Business Library, Business Talk Library. They're out of South Carolina. We have, RETV News. They're out of Houston, Texas. So we have people from all over bringing in content to the network. Again, we try to stream it 24/7, 365. And we're building we actually went from 1 channel to 2, and we're looking to start the 3rd channel. So we're building a whole network.
That's tight, man. Definitely. Like, I really wanted to do the same thing as far as, you pretty much forced the syndicated show. Like that goes hard, and definitely something I've been trying to do with P.Y.O.N. What are some of the obstacles you faced, and like, how were you able to overcome them, being your own business?
Man, so just being an entrepreneur, period.
Right.
Yeah, it's obstacles right there, just in the word entrepreneur. So, just you have the haters and the people who are gonna say, "Oh man, that's too big. How you doing a whole network? Why you just not doing podcasts? Or why you just not doing da. That and alone, you got haters out there is an obstacle that you have to overcome. But you just honestly look past them and continue to push forward. Secondly, I say one of the other biggest obstacles that we have is, we are independently owned. So, unlike a lot of those companies who have, like, if you think about Revolt TV, for instance, which is backed by Diddy, Diddy already got millions,
But they don't need to keep Revolt. They don't need to keep Revolt running the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but Diddy got millions. So people, a lot of these networks and so forth got money behind them that's pushing, money into the network to make it to be what it is. Everything that we do on relationship entertainment television is strictly out of the pockets of us. We don't charge our viewers. We don't charge our content providers. Everything that we do out of the pockets of us, in advertising and networking and things like that. So, that in itself is another, obstacle, but we continue to push forward. We continue to, grind, trying to get that money, trying to get the advertising, all of those things to continue to make the network, push 24/7.
And I would say that's definitely one of the hardest things, that financial side of things, like putting your all into something all day, every day, and not actually reaping the benefits as far as, financial gain. Man, I don't know how you're able to just like do it and speak so, still positive about it. Like what drives you to, and motivates you to keep going, even though you're not always reaping that financial stability from it?
Man, so I grew up in the family of entrepreneurs. I can't even BS you. I grew up in the family of entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurship is in my blood. And in my opinion, I have this conversation with my wife often. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Let's be for real. Not every, people don't have the drive. When it gets hard, they want to quit automatically. And people do that not only in business, they do it in relationships, they do it in school, they do it and I was actually one of those people that wanted that at one point in time where when things got tough for me, I backed off and I quit and didn't see things through. And it wasn't until I became older, became a father, became a husband and so forth that I realized that, there are bigger eyes on me than just myself. And this is something that's definitely needed for us in our community. So I continue to push, I continue to thrive. Like you said earlier, it's not easy to sit here and be like, oh yeah, RETV,
Right.
man. It's been times where it's like, man, like, what are we doing? Like, or how far are we gonna go with this? Are we gonna quit? Like, where's the money coming from this month? Or where's the content coming from this month? But it's like, nah, you don't realize the benefit in the impact you have on all the people that are watching that you may not even realize are watching, that that are supporting you and rooting for you, and so forth. So I do it for them. I do it for my family. I do it, just because it's needed out there. So that's where the drive continues to come from.
Right. I know Webb got a question, but Webb, he kept bringing up, entrepreneurship. And I heard this quote that from Elon Musk. Somebody asked him, what words of encouragement would you give an entrepreneur? And he said that if you need words of encouragement, don't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I read that last week. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we all need words of encouragement. Don't get me wrong, but man, I get the message behind. That.
Right. Go ahead, Webb.
With you being a positive based network, how do you stay away from like falling into the traps of talking about the negative stuff? Like, for example, on your love talk, talking about the negatives in the relationship, or is that a conversation that you have but just address positively?
Yeah. So honestly, and I'll say this. So again, because we don't create all of our content, we have other people sometimes create our, bring in content, whatnot. We're very picky on what it is that we choose to air on our network, because we do want to have, a network that promotes positive content. However, we've had conversations, me and my wife and me and the team, that we have in general, have had conversations about what we will allow and what we don't allow. And my thing is, what may be positive to you may not be positive to somebody else. And you can't please everybody all the time. However, some of those tough conversations need to be had, Webb. I'm like, seriously. You think about church, church is supposed to be a positive place, but there's a lot of conversations they shy away from, even in the church, that need to be had, because people are suffering for mental health, the sexual abuse, and all of those things. So if those are your topics, such as porn or violence or drugs or whatever the case may be, okay, let's talk about those topics. But let's put a spin on those to say how we came from the street life to doing something positive, at some point in time in your life. Yeah, you was in the street, cool beans. Everybody got a past, everybody got a background, right, this, that, and the third. But how did you turn, you being in the streets into doing something positive? How did you become an entrepreneur? How you influence other folks? If you used to watch porn, okay, cool. We talked about on Millionaire Man Cave, we talked about how porn, can potentially affect the relationships of men dealing with their relationships with their wives. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not necessarily, yeah, we're talking about porn, but we ain't necessarily saying, oh, go out there and watch Debbie Does Dallas, or go watch Pinky, right, or, whatever, Let's talk about how it affects us. And do you watch it? And if you do, how does it affect you? Right, so we try to put a positive spin on even things that are negative somehow, some way.
Well, my next question is, with this whole pandemic, how was you able to keep Rev TV running, especially with everything going viral, so you're not being able to have your meetings and stuff like that. So how did you overcome this pandemic? So going on, of course.
Yeah. The pandemic is crazy. So even with the pandemic, initially, a lot of the things we were doing locally and in-house. Like even Millionaire Man Cave, we were doing like an in-studio recording every week. And even our team is spread out. We're a 3-person team, and one of our teammates actually lives in Florida. But they were able to do that during the pandemic because they lived here close locally, but they moved to Florida. But right, things like Zoom and things like StreamYard and all of those things, we were able to kind of flip the switch a little bit and use technology to our advantage, and allow we were, even with like Millionaire Man Cave, for instance, 2 people live in North Carolina, 1 person lives back in DC. Women's champ, like I said, she used to live in Milwaukee. She went from Milwaukee to Texas. Now she lives in Brooklyn, New York. We got people who send in content from everywhere. So even with the pandemic, we're still able to thrive because, we just use technology to our advantage. Right. And, products like Zoom and StreamYard and whatnot. So, yeah.
How important is it to have that team?
All right. I can't do it by myself. This, if anybody knows, like you said, even putting yourself on notice podcast, you say you're trying to build a network with that. You know, you can't do this by yourself. I mean, you could, but you kill yourself.
Right.
So if it wasn't for me having a team that, you know, helps me do social media, a team that helps me put together marketing, a team that helps me put together, you know, content, a team that helps me bring on or you know, onboard other content and whatnot. If I had to do it all by myself, I burn out so quick. So it's super important. I really appreciate the team that I have, whether it's the team that actually works with us directly in RETV or our indirect team who actually brings in content, who I still have to communicate with them and who sends out newsletters and all of that stuff, because there's times I'm in meetings and you know, I got to meet with this person and somebody else can do this over here. So having a team for me is uber important, man.
Yeah. It's for all the shows that are on RETV, are they more interview based? Like, or some of them stepping outside the box and creating, you know, their own content per se, like a show or something like that? Or
So it's dope because we've actually been in talks with quite a few people who have content on platforms like Tubi and Netflix and so forth. And so I would probably say about 80% of our shows are probably internet interview based. However, we do have we launched our second channel about six to 8 months ago now, and that channel is actually news based. So that one itself is, you know, people, you know, just, you know, talking about what's going on positive in the world in regards to news. We got a show called RETV Sports. That's you know, that one is hilariously funny,
Yeah.
but it's really dope when it comes to having somebody just, you know, give their perspective, especially a woman, on what's going on in the sports world.
I was definitely gonna say, especially a Black woman at that.
Yeah, you know, giving on in the sports world. So not all of them are interview based. Shortly, we will actually have some content coming that's like short films, some movies, and some skits and so forth as well. That, you know, that we're actually in contact with some people now who say, hey, we believe in what you're doing. We want to bring some additional type of content over to your network. But right now, it's about 80-20.
What channels or where can we find RETV?
Man, so when we initially launched with the idea of going 24/7, 365 on as many platforms as we can get our hands on at the time. Well, obviously, you know, being a business owner, it takes a minute to get there. So we initially launched on our website, re-tv.net. And you can actually, you know, watch all of our shows there, re-tv.net. There's a stream where you can actually go through and has a channel guide. You can click to see what channel, what time your show's getting ready to come on, all of that stuff. We also launched on our mobile app. So we actually have a mobile app on Android and iPhones. We currently took that down, but we'll be relaunching that within the next couple of weeks. And the reason we took it down is because we wanted to offer more features. We want people to be able to interact while they're watching shows. We want people to be able to, you know, send in content live while you're actually watching our show that we may be able to air straight live on the, you know, to say, hey, you know, so we want to bring more features and a whole bunch of new stuff. So we currently took our mobile app down, but it's coming back in a couple of weeks. As well as, you know, you can watch us on Facebook. We got a stream up on Facebook that streams 24/7. We got our stuff on YouTube. You know, we got content on YouTube. You can go back and watch all of the past episodes on YouTube as well as our website. So we trying to get as many places as possible, and then we coming with Roku and Apple TV and Fire Sticks and all of those coming soon as well.
That's what's up. You started off as a podcast, transitioned into a whole network. Where else do you see RETV going?
Man, so we are holding big expectations and high expectations for ourselves. As I said earlier, right now we are independently owned. Eventually, hopefully somebody will come and say, we want to back you. However, if they do come and back us, you know, we still want to hold the narrative. We still want to hold, you know, all the chips at the end of the day. So that way nobody can come in and change what it is that we're doing. But we do want to see ourselves on network television. We want to be, you know, right now, the benefit of doing streaming is that we can be everywhere all at one time. We're not only just in Milwaukee, we're not only just in Chicago, DC, here in North Carolina, you know, New York, so forth. We're, you know, one of our next biggest markets is actually overseas. So, you know, we have people who are overseas watching us. So we're trying to be on network television everywhere.
Man, yeah, that's dope. That's definitely dope. Where have you got?
Yeah.
I know I'm still in all the questions, bro. I know. But
Man.
no, man, I'm definitely like proud of what you're doing. I look up to you in a lot of different ways. You know, I'm definitely inspired by your grind and your hustle and your ambition for RETV. What words of or what advice would you give another entrepreneur like myself?
Man, we talked about it. Don't quit. Don't quit. Like I said, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but I will say this, and I'll give you a key example. My wife, she holds her own business as well. She, she fired her full-time corporate 9-to-5 job. And it was like, kind of, I was kind of had to raise an eyebrow for a minute, because in my opinion, when I first met my wife, she was not an entrepreneur. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. She was not an entrepreneur. She didn't have the mindset of an entrepreneur. But over the course of time, she continued to push herself. She continued to meet with, other entrepreneurs and so forth. So, one, continue to push, continue to grind. Secondly, network. Network, because what you're doing is not, in 9 times out of 10, it's not original. Somebody else is out there who's already done it in some form, fashion, or another. Start to feed off of what other people are doing, learn from them if they're willing. We can't have that crabs in the barrel mentality. We got to be able to reach back and help other people who are wanting to do the same thing or similar, and so on and so forth. It's enough room for everybody out here, in my opinion. And there's no reason why we can't support one another by networking and helping each other out, letting people know, yo, this make your product's crappy. Let's go back and, take it from the drawing board and take a look at, and doing it in love, not to be funny and not to be harsh, but, or going to somebody and be like, yo, how did you get there? How did you do that? And then taking that and putting a spin on it, and then just grinding, go ahead and just grind it. It's a lot to it, on a daily basis, in and out. Sometimes when you don't want to be up, you got to be up, sometimes when you don't want to talk to people, you got to talk to people. So you got to continue to grind.
And that's why I always say it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about finding different ways of using it. And
exactly.
The thing that I go by is the greatest battle is against yourself. So I definitely, I take all that you just said, King, and I appreciate you once again for joining Put You On Notice podcast. Webb, unless you got another question, we gonna get Ty up out of here.
Yeah, we gotta let him go. He got to get back to running his business.
Okay. Hey, Ty, once again, keep killing it out there, King. Y'all support RETV. Tell us once again, where can we follow RETV and to help support you guys?
Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate y'all having me today. Showing love, but you can definitely catch Relationship Entertainment Television, better known as RETV, 24/7, 365 on the web, re-tv.net. Again, that's re-tv.net. Hit us up on YouTube, subscribe, Relationship Entertainment Television. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so that way you know when all of our good shows are coming new out there. And then don't forget, we'll be relaunching the app shortly, and you can download and you can take it with you on your mobile devices, your iPads, your whatever it is you got, take it with you everywhere.
And there y'all have it, man, Mr. Tyren Roberson. Hey, we gonna collab here soon. It's a P.Y.O.N. RETV thing coming soon.
Most definitely.
Notice.
Yeah.